Right. Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. You know how we do things around here. We take some really fascinating material and we really dig in. Today, we're going to be tackling the idea of improving English speaking. And we have an awesome expert here to help us out.
I'm excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Me too.
Mm.
Now, the source material we're looking at today is called English Speaking Practice to Learn English Speaking, Improve Listening and Speaking Skills. I mean, right off the bat, it's pretty clear what they're going for, but
Yeah.
what really jumps out at me in that title is the connection between, and I'm going to put scare quotes here, listening and speaking.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, most people tend to think of those as separate skills, right? Like, oh, I need to work on my listening, and then separately I need to work on my speaking.
Totally. Like two different buckets.
Exactly. Two
Yeah.
different buckets. But actually, they're way more connected than a lot of people think.
Okay, so like a buy one, get one free situation.
Kinda, yeah. In a way. I mean, think about it. How do we learn to speak any language? Like, as babies, we don't just magically start speaking.
Right. We listen first, right?
Exactly. We spend months, sometimes years, just soaking up the sounds around us, listening to how people talk, how they put words together, the rhythm, the intonation, all of that. And then eventually we start trying to make those same sounds ourselves.
So it's like listening is the foundation of speaking.
It totally is. It's like, if you want to build a house, you need a solid foundation first, right?
That makes sense.
Same thing with language. If you want to speak English well, you got to have a strong foundation in listening. And that means not just passively listening, but really actively listening, paying attention to the details.
Okay, so how do we go beyond that passive listening? What are some ways that we can really actively engage with what we're hearing and make that connection to our speaking?
Well, there are actually a lot of different techniques you can try, but one that I find super helpful is something called shadowing.
Shadowing, okay.
Have you ever heard of that one?
I have, but I'm not sure I could really explain it.
Yeah, so basically it's like you're trying to become the speaker's shadow, You listen to them talk and you try to repeat what they're saying at the same time.
So you're speaking along with them.
Exactly. And it can feel a bit weird at first, like you're just mimicking. But trust me, it's super effective because it forces you to pay attention to the rhythm, the pronunciation, the intonation, all those little details that make up natural speech.
So it's not just about the words themselves, but how they're delivered.
Exactly. It's about the whole package. And the great thing about shadowing is you can do it with all sorts of different materials. Like you can shadow podcasts, you can shadow audiobooks, you can even shadow movies or TV shows.
So basically any kind of English audio that you enjoy.
Exactly. And another cool thing about shadowing is you can kind of tailor it to your own level. Like if you're a beginner, you can start by shadowing short, simple phrases. And as you get better, you can gradually increase the complexity and the length of what you're shadowing.
So it's like a workout for your listening and speaking muscles.
Totally, like hitting the gym for your English skills.
I like that. Okay, so shadowing is one technique. What are some other things that learners can try?
Well, another one that I really like is called active recall.
Active recall. Okay, that sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, it sounds a bit technical, but it's actually pretty simple. Basically, it's all about forcing your brain to actively retrieve information, which helps you remember it better. And you can do this in lots of different ways.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you just listened to a short English conversation or a podcast episode. Try to summarize what you heard without looking back at the material. Like just close your eyes and try to remember the main points, the key ideas, the important details.
Okay, so really test your comprehension and your memory.
Exactly. And it can be tough at first, but that's a good thing. Because when you struggle to recall something, it means your brain is working harder to make those connections and strengthen those neural pathways.
So it's kind of like weightlifting for your brain.
Exactly. You're pushing yourself, and that's how you grow.
I like that. And I've actually heard from some listeners that they find shadowing really frustrating because they feel like they can't keep up with the speaker. What would you say to them?
Totally get it. It can be really overwhelming at first, especially if you're trying to shadow something that's too fast or too complex. The key is to start slow and simple. Like, don't try to shadow a whole podcast episode right off the bat. Maybe start with just a short sentence or a paragraph. And you can even slow down the audio speed if you need to.
Right, so make it manageable.
Exactly. And don't worry about being perfect. It's more important to focus on getting the rhythm and the sounds right, even if you make a few mistakes along the way.
So progress over perfection.
Absolutely. And remember, it's all about practice. The more you shadow, the easier it will become.
Right, and I think it's important to remember that improving your English speaking isn't just about practicing speaking. It's about developing that keen ear, actively training your brain and really finding those opportunities to put it all into practice.
You hit the nail on the head there. And as you continue on this language learning adventure, you'll discover what works best for you. Maybe you learn best visually, or maybe you're all about that hands-on experience. The key is to find your own rhythm and go with it.
That's a great point, finding what clicks for you. Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. Thanks for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to all our listeners. We'll see you in the next deep dive.